Sorry.
but like,
Okay, hold on a second. You're younger than I am, but do you remember the ad campaign for Slim Jims? Snap it to a Slim Jim?
no,
You don't remember that? Okay. This would be quite the thing. Like, these are beef jerky sticks that sold here in the United States. And
Okay.
I think the thing they're trying to highlight in the marketing was like how crisp it was when you snapped it. I don't know if that's even a thing. But that was their slogan. There'd be like this hyped up guy that would come out on the screen in different situations that people found themselves in, and he'd be like, "Snap it to a Slim Jim," and he'd crack Slim Jim, whatever. So whenever I
No,
hear
I
Sim Jim
don't recall that.
or
That's funny.
Shopify, like that's the voice I hear in my head. Snap it to a Sim Jim. So anyway,
No, very,
no
very
any,
different thing, though maybe
yeah.
inspired. I don't know.
And welcome back to another exciting edition of the Liquid Weekly podcast. I'm your host, Karl Meisterheim, and with me, as always, because I don't think there's never been a not you've been with me, is Taylor Page. Taylor, hello.
Carl, hello. And I'm trying
Have
to
we-
think now. Have I missed? I think there've been a couple of times where we've tried to work out schedules where it was like we might just someone's gonna have to go solo, but I think we've always been able to manage to sync up. So I think it's always worked out.
Have.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that because this is the third season that we've been recording these, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's pretty good. We're
season
busy
3.
guys. Both have kids to make it work
Yes.
that long. That's a commitment.
It is. I like to think so. I don't think the consistency is always the hardest thing with anything, right? Like just being able to do it day in, day out,
and putting up with each
weekly,
other.
bi-weekly. That's well.
That's.
I mean, your job's harder than mine. You're an absolute delight, Carl.
Stop, please. Keep sharing. No. Yeah, it is good to see you again. Normally I do some kind of fancy schmancy hint about who our guest is, and we don't ever try to hide the guest because we're too lazy in terms of how we edit things. But you'll notice there is no one else here today, and that is because sometimes we just need some me time, you and me time.
Yeah.
And Taylor, you have this gift. I think everyone has gifts. One of your gifts, I think, is building community. I think we've seen that with SDA and when we've been to the different editions. I didn't notice it so much at Unite 2019, but the other editions where you've been, I definitely noticed you have a way of building community. Another gift you have is you just somehow manage to stay on top of things. And as someone who feels perpetually underwater, I appreciate that about you. And so today, this is when you catch Karl up on all the things that are happening. I share some observations here or there, and we just sit at the feet of your wisdom and get synced up with the exciting world of Shopify development. So no pressure, but I'm excited to hear what you've been working on.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't feel like I stay on top of anything at all, and also feel like I'm perpetually drowning in all the things, but I appreciate that I'm at least putting on the face of somebody who is not drowning. So
yeah,
we got
you
this.
fake it pretty
together. Our powers combine.
By the way, I was thinking of you. Speaking of your powers, I was at one of my favorite local eateries, Jason's Deli, which is a chain. So many of you listening, the three of you that are still here, may have been to one of these, but they sell massive baked potatoes as an entree.
Ooh, okay.
And I thought, man, that's got Taylor's name written all over it. So
Jason's Deli? I've heard of that. I don't know if I've been to a Jason's Deli, though.
They're here in Columbus, so next time you and your wife make a trip down.
There was a place when we lived in Springfield. I haven't seen them up here, so I don't know if it's just like more of a regional thing. I know they're a chain, but McAllister's, have you ever been to one of those? They also used to do the big potato thing, so that was... I'll have to try Jason's Deli. Like I said, I've heard of those. I don't have one, I don't think, near me, but just be a reason to come visit.
I'm sure there's one in Cleveland, but you should come to the one in Columbus.
Oh, yeah. I did. I just got back from Cleveland. We talked about that a little bit because I know you're trying to figure out some trip plans and stuff, but I got to see Dylan in Cleveland. He pointed me to a couple of good places, and we did try a food place he talked about. I think you would enjoy.
We call those restaurants.
Chumla.
Food places.
Did you have one of those? Was that the one you had? Yeah, the food places or restaurants.
Yeah.
Indian barbecue. It was really good. There have just been tons and tons and tons of updates. So rather than doing a whole nother changelog, I did take some notes that we had talked about just trying to talk about all the new things that have been happening. And so for those of you that have not been in the Shopify Theme Editor lately, you're probably going to notice that it looks very, very different even than from just a little bit ago.
Well, because it just made the big change like a few months ago, right? Of bringing in VS Code essentially.
Yeah,
There's
and
been
that's
another
so
big
that's for the
change?
code editor, right? But like for a lot
Oh, you're
of
talking
like
about theme editor.
merchants,
Sorry.
yes, specifically the theme editor. So it's a good call. Like make sure that differentiation is there. It definitely looks very different compared to what it used to look like. And so as far as people being able to take a look at that, I was trying to pull up and I thought I had a dev store for us to look at. So I'm trying to be cautious about the one that I pull up here. But they do have a lot of like new changes. I don't know if people like it when we share the screen and whatnot, but because some people are listening,
Don't
some
worry.
people are watching, so
Are they though?
let's just dive into it. Are they though? They're at least we at least have some friends that are like helping us out.
We have
Hmm.
not heard from Prakar in quite some time. I'm concerned he's no longer working out.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah.
Let me see. I've
Marriage will
also
do
not
that to
been
you.
working out ever since I got this dog. It's been brutal trying to get back into the habit of working out regularly again. So this is just a general test store.
Yep.
But if you've not popped into the editor before, you'll notice like a handful of changes, like some of the main sections, theme settings, and app embeds. Like it's moved from over here. Previously, it used to kind of be off to the side.
Yeah.
People would click into it, miss it, and stuff from there, whatever. But now it's up here. So this is kind of interesting. A little bit different when it comes to that. I think it's a better use of the space. So that's kind of cool. You still have a similar kind of layout. So I haven't figured out the consistency yet of like when you click into settings, sometimes these settings actually still slide up, but over here.
Oh,
And
weird.
so, yeah, there's some kind of set view where like the behavior changes specific to this. I don't necessarily love that because I feel like it's like really inconsistent, but I do know they're probably trying to fight with like different screen sizes. Let me see here if I can't. Whoa, too much.
Oh,
So we'll try to play around with this. So you can see here, all right, so this view kind of shows this collapse. So I'm supposing this is closer to like a something more like a tablet maybe, but I don't know,
mm-hmm.
like at only 1200 pixels wide, like that still shouldn't actually be there. But like so the section settings, instead of popping up over here, you can still see part of it over here and click in through different things, and then it's down here. So it's very, very
Okay.
different from what it used to be. So and this is kind of confusing. Oh, it's helpful. So here's where some of your same standard information comes in, just like the standard drop down. And then obviously you've got stuff up here like specific to markets and stuff as well. Real big call out. If you're working with merchants or anything like that, or you're having problems, sometimes when they're making changes to the theme and then they can't find it later, it's because they're accessing that via a different market.
Oh,
This
good.
is like happened several times with folks. So just a quick call out there if we're working with a merchant, they're like, I can't find this information. I know I saved it, I know I updated it or whatever, and you can see it. Check markets because there's sometimes where they will actually customize the theme specific to their market and then not be able to find it again because they're just not looking in the right market view. So that's a quick call out there. Markets is becoming a bigger and bigger thing, and obviously that's a thing we all have to pay attention to. But as far as like a common merchant issue or whatever, just a heads up on that.
Yeah, no, that would be something that would probably trip me up. So thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, this is all pretty standard as far as like the same. This is kind of what you can expect. Obviously, Sidekicks over here and helps out. This theme inspector, all this stuff or what have you, pretty similar. I thought it was interesting as well. So they got rid of, they used to have like, I think they used to have a tablet view or not a tablet view, but you could like get rid of like the rest of this as well. So it was like phone, desktop, and then you could actually hide like this bar. And so now you actually have to click over here to do that, which I don't feel
Oh,
like is intuitive when we had those. But it's still there. It's just kind of hidden a little bit. So
yeah, I
the
think you
other
paid more attention to this than anyone else has.
well, if you're working with merchants like directly in themes and like if you've got an app where you have to have an app block, like you should know how the editor works pretty well, right? Because this is where merchants go to mess things up. So it's going to be on you to fix it.
Hey, Shopify app developers, this one's for you. When's the last time you took a real break? You know, the kind where you're not constantly checking your support tickets on your phone every few minutes? Well, there's a team that's making that possible. The Support Heroes. Since 2020, they've helped over 100 Shopify Plus apps across 40 developers, earning their reputation as the leading outsourced customer support service for Shopify apps. Their team works 24/7, 365 days a year to deliver real empathy and real expertise. And they do this so developers can focus on building, growing, or honestly just getting some well-deserved rest. If you feel already stretched thin or tied up in support queries, this is the perfect moment to plan ahead. Let the support heroes take support off your plate while you focus on taking your project to the next level.
Yeah. And hopefully you can understand the quick tricks really fast. The other handy thing is there is a little bit of a save state here. If somebody accidentally refreshes or whatever. It does do a good job mostly with being able to pull in maybe some changes that you haven't saved. I feel like I'm getting like the white screen of death here from what was that? Was that Xbox that used to have that? Um, so you'll have like this ability to restore a last session. You can see it didn't change, didn't save, and now it pulls up what I had changed the text to and stuff or whatever. So this is really handy if like internet gets interrupted or whatever. You accidentally, instead of Command S, it's Command R, and you refresh the page or whatever kind of type thing. Really, really handy to fix there as well. So, also another fun little thing here. So rollouts is a new thing. So you can see here, like you can actually like create a rollout from this. So rollouts is Shopify's like fun little like testing and scheduling kind of type thing that you can run. So you can actually like schedule this directly from the editor, which is really, really cool.
Oh, wow.
There's actually some apps that do this and have done this before. So I haven't got to play around with this too much quite yet. So I don't know the ins and outs of how that works, but it's pretty cool that you can basically schedule a change directly in that same editor now. This is pretty cool. Being able to handle this part. So yeah.
Yeah, I've never played with rollouts before. That's pretty neat.
It's brand new. So it was announced in the last editions, the Renaissance editions. And so I think I signed up for like an early access, and then which feels like the case for all of these last ones. Like I signed up for early access and it never happened. It just becomes like general access for everybody. So I don't know if like they're just like treating that early access as like a very early like beta that they have like really, really small. And then when they feel like it's good enough for GA, then they're like, all right, everyone gets it. So the last several that I've signed up for an early access thing, it's like, hey, your access has been approved. But then it's like the announcement comes out that's like, everybody's got it. So it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna keep
I
signing up
can't
though. They can get me to keep signing up.
I can't believe they treat a Shopify Build Award winner that way. I
That's
would have
yeah. I
expected
don't have
legitimate
any
early access.
I don't have any kind of fast track for anything for that. So other than like just relationships I've established where people are reaching out for like feedback on stuff or whatever, there's nothing to dispel any rumors. There's no secret Slack that we have or any connection to Shopify or anything like that. It's just no, nothing. So
Makes you wonder
can't
why you
throw my
even
weight around it.
try. Yeah, I don't know. Just give up,
Why even
Taylor.
try? Yeah, that's because of the really cool thing here. So yeah, those are a handful of the updates. Something that's been around for a really long time. You can rename sections, renamed. You can, really easily duplicate and stuff. Sometimes, it's because I'm in a different thing, so we can duplicate a section or whatever. So there's a lot of cool things. Those have been around for a while, but as far as, really handy things, if you haven't been in the editor in a minute, there's a lot of cool stuff in here as well. So the team has been working very, very hard on all this stuff. So grateful for that. I think they're doing a really great job. It's very helpful when it comes to that.
All of that's not going to get you early access. It's nice of you to be so
I know, right?
complimentary, but no.
Yeah. So Ben, if you're listening, I want early access on the next thing when I sign up for early access on additions, please. That'd be
Ben,
great.
could Taylor just come and work in your office with you? He just
Oh
wants to
man,
be around.
he'd be so annoyed. I'd be like, "Ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that?" He wouldn't be able to get anything done. That's why they couldn't do that. Taylor
Got it.
doesn't get the inside look. Way too many questions. Nobody would be able to get anything done. I'd be sitting there like, "Ooh, the whole time." Um, so yeah, those are some of the new changes that were made to the editor. I think it's really helpful. Shopify's like SimGem app rolled out too. So that was another thing that was announced in the Renaissance.
Sorry.
But like,
Okay, hold on a second. You're younger than I am, but do you remember the ad campaign for Slim Jims? Snap to Slim Jim?
no.
You don't remember that? Okay. This would be quite the thing. Like, these are beef jerky sticks that sold here in the United States.
Okay.
And I think the thing they're trying to highlight in the marketing was like how crisp it was when you snapped it. I don't know if that's even a thing, but that was their slogan. There'd be like this hyped up guy that would come out on the screen in different situations that people found themselves in, and he'd be like, "Snap it to a Slim Jim," and he'd crack Slim Jim, whatever. So whenever I
No,
hear
I
Sim Jim
don't recall that.
for
That's funny.
Shopify, like that's the voice I hear in my head. Snap it to a Sim Jim. So anyway,
No, very,
no
very
need.
different thing, though maybe
Yeah.
inspired. I don't know. It's more for like simulating buyer behavior with AI shoppers. So it's kind of interesting. I didn't realize you start out with so many credits, depending on what task you run it 1, 2, 3 credits, whatever. But so I don't know what it costs actually after you run out of credits, like how much like you've gotta pay for that. But I have not tested it on a client store yet. I tested it on my own personal like services website, and obviously it is not built for that. Like it's like, why, like you're not selling anything, like this is a horrible website. It's just like, well, that's not it's not what I was going for there. It's like you can't even find the add to cart button, you know. It's
I'm
like there's
sure
no
it didn't
products in
say
the store.
horrible.
I'm pretty sure it did. Let me see if I can't pull up the it is funny though, it gives you like little feedback. So it's just a bunch of these bots who have like, set prompts or whatever for like intentional behavior. It's like this store doesn't have any hats, so I'm not interested in this or whatever. It was funny, some of the feedback that was on it. But anyways, Shopify's rolling out a bunch of stuff that came out as early release for Renaissance, and it's only just getting into April here, so they're kind of crushing it with these things.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I would wish I had a store that was retail that I could try it on. If you'd had this years ago when you were selling your coffee mug,
Selling the coffee mugs.
you could have sold 2 of them. I'm just
I
saying.
could be a coffee mug mogul right now, just like sitting out atop my empire. Yeah, we could have maybe expanded to teacups. I don't know. Like, yeah, we could have been big. That's
Well, let's just come back. I mean, I appreciate a delusion of grandeur as much as the next guy, but teacups, that takes a
I
certain
don't
kind of
know. Like,
person
that's
for
what else do you
teacups.
do after you're done selling coffee cups? Or coffee mugs. I
You're
enjoy
never done.
coffee,
You're never done,
so
Taylor.
I think it'd be cool to run a coffee shop. I think that was. I know food service industry, the margins are horrible though. So like, I don't know how that works. I've got a buddy that
You support
has a
it
coffee shop.
with
I
your
should ask.
consulting work, and then you run it at a loss. That's how that works.
Ooh, that's how that
It's
works.
yeah.
One day I'll be making enough that I can just go ahead and burn cash on my little coffee shop. So
There you go. Have your kids work there for free. That'd be perfect.
oh man, it is that's the goal. So that is the goal. So other than that, I don't know if you've done any of the other things that have updated. Terrible segue from other than the theme editor, but like the Shopify Dev Dashboard. Have you seen all of those fun new things that have come out from that lately, or
I
you've had to
have
play
seen
around with a
some of
little bit?
them.
Yeah,
Actually, this is a good segue to what I had to talk about today. Do you want me to go ahead and share my sordid
yes,
story? All right.
do it.
So, dear listener or viewer, depending on your medium of choice, I'm going to share with you a little bit of a story. It will relate to the Dev Dashboard here shortly. I have an app. It's a free gift with purchase app, PromoParty Pro. Check it out. Working on
Woohoo.
this with Kurt and Paul for a while now. It's a great app. It's been a lot of fun working on it together. Recently, as in last night, I was in Slack and saw that one of the stores was having trouble. They were no longer seeing their free gifts being discounted. I thought, well, that's not good. That's what this app is supposed to be doing. I should probably figure out what's happening. So I did a couple things. One is, from past experience, I know that it's almost never the Shopify function. Like, it's got to be something else going on, but it wasn't clear.
So
And I
that is
didn't
to
want
say
to think
functions are
too
very
hard.
stable, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their
Okay.
functions, and it's almost always something like an edge case where the discount's being interfered with by another app, or they don't have like the combines with settings set up in such a way that allows our app to run when they have other things that are happening on the source. Those kinds of things that tend to
Now, can I jump
trip
in
us
real
up.
quick there and ask if you have run other things? Do people have to worry about like so many or discounts running at a time, right? Like you're limited on the amount of like automatic discounts you can run on a shop or whatever. Like that's a thing too. I don't know if you've seen that yet
Yeah,
or if
I've
that's
not
gone
run into
away.
that yet,
Okay.
but thank you for instilling that fear in me as well.
Now, I would say now giving you something else to keep you up at night.
Right.
Sorry. Anyways, continue.
Thank you. Yeah. So, uh, my brain capacity was a little low. This was late into day last night, and so you thought, you know what? I've got AI, and so I'm trying to be smart about how I use AI for development. And so what I ended up doing was I fed in the settings for the campaign that was having trouble. Said, hey, here's a campaign, and then I also accessed the metafield where we store like the settings that we send into the function. So here's what we're sending into the function. Here's what's in the cart. Like, do you see where the issue might be? Why this wouldn't be discounting? And it walked through all the things and it called out, well, it's most likely not the combines with because in this particular instance, like it was set correctly. So it should apply even if there are other things. And I also had fed at the cart. It's like looking at the cart, there were no other discounts in the cart. So that wouldn't be an issue either, blah, 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 blah. And finally, it's like, oh, hey, moron, your metafield that you're sending to your function is 16 kilobytes in size. It's like, oh, that's probably a lot. Turns
That
out
sounds like a lot.
the limitation is 10 kilobytes for any single
Oh, okay.
metafield that you feed into a function's input.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. Which, in the back of my mind, I'm like, what are we sending over? It's very minimal. But then when I looked back over the code, like, long story short, we were sending too much information over, information that the function was never even going to access on that metafield.
Mm.
And I did verify that once I trimmed it down, it did in fact work. Because what was happening was Shopify, when it encounters a metafield that exceeds its minimum size, it just sends
Mm-hmm.
nothing to the function. So it wasn't receiving any input at all. And so
It's
the
like too big
function,
and then nothing.
yeah,
It's just
nothing.
oh
No
my gosh.
error,
Okay.
no warning. It's just, oh, your input is a blank array or whatever, right? So it's like, okay,
That
that's why the
seems
discounts are running.
odd. Like so so in the dev dash, like there is like a really handy space for you to access like, oh, all of the errors, right? That functions have run into
Yeah.
or what have you kind of type thing. So I haven't done discount function specifically, but like other stuff like cart transform and cart checkout validation function, all of that stuff or whatever. That's how that works. So discounts, I'm assuming is the same, right?
Yeah.
So they literally don't say anything when it's like you're this is too much. We're just going to not do anything with it. There's no error at
Now,
all, huh?
I could be wrong, but no, I didn't see any warnings or any errors related to that.
It
And
seems
that was
very
the other
unhelpful.
thing. This is where we're now coming back to the Dev Dashboard. See, is they recently added the ability to see the log output directly in the Dev Dashboard.
Yeah.
So that was helpful because it allowed me to confirm we had access to this particular merchant store that was having the error, and so we were able to share the logs, which is something you have to
Nice.
explicitly do in production, right? And then they'll show
Yes.
up in the Dev Dashboard. I could confirm what was getting passed in. I could see that it was being truncated to nothing. And then after I applied the fix, saw that it was coming through okay. Perfect. One thing I wanted to bring up about that, though, as handy as it was, is I feel like I have never had a lot of confidence in how that works because I often find that the function logs aren't there when I would expect them to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in theory, you share the function logs and it shares, I think, what is it, the previous 24 hours or the 24 hours going forward or something like that? I can't remember.
I think it gives you like, yeah, something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Like 7 days, I thought was more so, but yeah, it could just be 24 hours. That makes
I
probably
should
more
probably
sense.
reread what I'm saying. It feels a little nebulous to me sometimes, like when it will and actually show a log or not. So sometimes it was there, sometimes
Yeah.
it wasn't. And like it just something here doesn't seem quite right still, and it's hard to rely upon it. But that could be me too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, I think they've done a better job surfacing that because it definitely did feel like much more black box. It's definitely easier to do, but I do think even for merchants, like it's hard to like share. Like they've done a good job, like with some instances where if there's a function that is failing and it throws an error, then there is a spot where it does kind of let the merchant know like, oh, hey, there was a problem with this function, and then they can click into it from like the admin and then they can share the logs easily. But otherwise, Like you kind of have to walk them through that process, which thankfully with other apps that I've worked with and stuff, when we're trying to figure something out, at least I can get to that stuff more easily. But it is kind of hidden. Like you have to go into like settings and then the apps and then or whatever. It would be nice if there was like a really simple way for them to share logs outside of that, because they're not used to having to go in through settings and whatever and do that. And so, like, even if there's something you could surface in your own apps admin or whatever.
Okay. Sorry, stop the presses. Turns out I'm just an idiot and didn't read this well. Before I'd besmirch the name of the Shopify developers that worked on this feature. So when you share the logs as a merchant or on behalf of the merchant, at that point in time, it shares them from the past 24 hours.
Okay, 24 hours.
And so what I was running into last night was I shared the logs, looked at that on the Dev Dashboard, and then I made my change, and I went to look at an updated function around to see what had changed, and nothing was coming through. I had to go back, reshare,
Yeah.
then it would come through, and that felt really weird, but now that makes sense because it doesn't do it forward, it's only backwards.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think that's the hard part, right? That it is like only backwards of, okay, because now that we've pushed the fix, can you go ahead and share more so that way we can make sure it's actually working? So it is a little tough to do it that way, but there's got to be a lot of comms back and forth. But you got to figure it out at least, you know. I think that was part of. So they were talking about some of the changes. I don't think that was specific to like functions directly, but like there was supposed to be more insights into like what you're sending there, because I know when people say that, right, it's like can't send bigger than X. It's like, well, okay, well, how do we find that out easily enough, right, or whatever, so we can trim the fat, so to speak. So I thought in that whole thread, I'll have to go back and look or whatever. They had talked about trying to make that a little bit easier as well. So maybe have to find that.
This is what I depend on you for. But I did just confirm on the Dev Dashboard that it shows the error rate on the function as 0. There's never been an error in that function, and yet the input was being discarded. So
yeah, it's like I don't know why that wouldn't be considered an error. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
smarter people are trying to figure that out than I am. But I did also check as well the thing that I was asking too. You can only have 25 automatic discount functions per shop. So each shop has a limit of how many active
for functions
automatic discounts. Well, automatic discounts that they can run at a time. The shop can't run without some functions or whatever. The shop can't run additional active discounts. Like you have like an active discount you can set in the admin, like that's the active discount that's going on at that time. But you can only have 25 active discount functions per store. So that was the thing that I was looking for. So I'm curious, probably other folks that are doing like more discounting apps or what have you, like I'm sure there's a way to like probably surface that, because I'm sure that's a problem. The number used to be lower and then they made it much higher. I remember that was a whole thing. So that was why I was curious if like, even if 25 active discounts, because if you have a bunch of like really specific rules, and I do this because I'm working on a project right now, thankfully, I do not actually have to handle the discount function. I think discounts are crazy complicated and very confusing. And so I always leave that up to smarter people like yourself than to handle that part of it. It's like, I just have to handle the theme UI and everything. So I was
the last 5 minutes. I
was listening.
Do not categorize myself as smarter people, because apparently I can't even read the thing.
But anyways, so in our instance, we're using this for some really specific theme functionality. We're trying to surface kind of like this pattern where people are going to fall into a landing page and they're going to choose a specific discount of their choice or whatever. It's either going to be like you get a free gift with purchase, you're going to get X amount off the order or free shipping. And so we're going to pass that logic in through the shopping experience then to like get evaluated at checkout, right? And so that was my thought of figuring out, okay, at what point do we have to start being concerned about how many discount functions are running at a time for this or whatever? Because I think that's how we're rolling it out. So now I know. I'm happy that the number's 25. It seems pretty good, but I feel like that could stack up pretty fast too. So,
and maybe you'll be lucky like me, and if there is a problem, you won't even be told about it, so you won't have to
worry. I'll have to remember if it's failing silently that we need to go back and check the size of the JSON that we're passing in. So actually one of today's changelog references will help with that, but I I'm not
Hold
going
on,
to.
Taylor.
I'm not going to. I say I'm not going to jump ahead. I'm not going to jump ahead. But this is. I'm calling it out now. This is directly related to our conversation, as well. So,
Well,
so in
wrapping
addition
up,
to, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, wrapping up my little segue here about functions, and I'll let you
Oh, yeah.
return to
Yes.
running the episode.
Yeah.
I just appreciate functions so much. I don't like the
Yeah.
front end world. I don't like AI is great, but again, it's
No.
non-deterministic, it's probabilistic, whatever. Functions, like, it is what it is, and you give it input, it gives you output. And it's just such a breath of fresh air.
Well,
It's going to do what it needs to do.
let's dig into that a little bit, because the birth of and development of functions means the death of Shopify Scripts, which,
Yeah.
as you well know, was not JavaScript. So are you saying in some specific instance that the technology that has advanced and been replaced here is possibly superior to what was that Ruby? Or,
Yeah, no, it was Ruby. So here's the situation. The runtime is better.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember when functions rolled out, they were Rust only.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And so then they deigned to allow people to write JavaScript as well, mainly to serve as an example that you could, in fact, compile anything down to WASM and have it run as a function. So there is a route, technically, to get Ruby to do that as well, if you want to go down that road. So
Are you
your
using
point
Ruby?
is moot. I'm not going to say.
That means
Let your
JavaScript for
heart be your
everybody
guide.
listening. Okay.
But
And then eventually
in
we'll
theory,
all
could be
learn
doing that.
Rust. So
Yeah.
right. In theory, you could do it. So now
All right.
I think it is great. I think kind of the same as the difficulty initially with like checkout.liquid going away in favor of extensibility. They used to be able to do pretty much what you wanted there when you had access to that or whatever, as opposed to now you're kind of like, handcuffs the wrong word, but like there are good constraints. Like you're very boxed in, like this is what is available, this is what's not available. And that's made some things a little bit more difficult. Like even in my own understanding on a recent project, like I thought we could do something with checkout UI extensions that was not actually possible. And so I just had to walk that back and we had to figure something else out, and that's okay. But it's been nice that it has been a much clearer path of like, we can do this, we can't do this. And so that part's nice. Also, when you get someone who has like I got a design that has this like completely different like checkout UI, and I was like, just one of those you circle in designs, like we can't do any of this. Like this is what we can do. And so that's actually really nice. I like that personally, but I also, I don't know. I'm in favor of the cleaner checkout. I think when people stuff everything in there, it just messes things up. And so yeah, so much the same, like as far as, you're getting what you're getting. I think the move to web components and stuff like this has been like really, really good. These like unified components we can use at checkout and customer account extensions. Like it's all good stuff. It's definitely different, but it's all really good. So speaking of all things that are really good and things that are getting constantly better. So the Dev Dashboard is still, I think people were initially not super stoked about it. Like people are like, I've got like a partner dash and I've got a dev dash, but they are definitely like leaning heavily into the dev dash. And there's just lots of good stuff rolling out from there as well. So just the ability to create plus shops directly in Dev Dashboard. This is something we've asked for years. I mean, before you couldn't even get unless you had like a Shopify Plus sandbox account kind of type thing. And so
weren't you on the early release for that?
We were both on the early release for the Dev Dash because we had Etan come on and talk about it. So, but it's really, really great. So I'm super happy about how that's working. They're also moving into this feature. So there's been some issues, right, with where you've got two dashboards. It's kind of confusing what goes where. So more stuff is moving into Dev Dashboard. Like this feels like the very clear signal of like, eventually the Dev Dashboard is just going to be the spot for anything dev, right? And so they are also doing a better job. Merchants also have access to a Dev Dashboard. Not everybody knows this, right?
Yeah.
So if you're working with merchants, everybody on the Grow and Up plan, the basic Shopify plan does not come with a Dev Dashboard. So not every plan that has a online storefront has a Dev Dashboard, but I believe it's Grow and Up. So Grow, Advanced, Plus. They all have a Dev Dashboard of their own. So they can do the whole custom app route and those sorts of things. The tough part of it is currently that they're still working on is like if you have access to the store as a collaborator, so whether you're an app or you're doing services, you can't access their dev dashboard, which currently doesn't make sense. So there was a whole back and forth. I did a whole thread on it because we had a client that we're working with and like weren't able to access unless that was just the outcome. Like you unfortunately just have to have a staff account in order to do this. And so, which to me was confusing because I was like, up until this point, like I thought it was like a partner terms thing. Like you are supposed to access via collab access. You should not be accessing via staff accounts, but that's the current direction until they get that folded in, and they are working on it. So
Okay.
part of the changes as well with the dev dashboard, that's more merchant facing. So the dev dashboard, they announced that recently as well. They're moving more towards this role-based access control. So similar to how merchants can assign different positions or whatever, like you can do that in your
Sure.
dev store, which again was a really confusing thing because if you have other people working with you, so staff, contractors or whatever, and you spun up a store in your dev dashboard, those people could not access those stores. You couldn't assign them to them. So you had to send a staff account invite to another team member or whatever it is just to get to a dev store. So this will hopefully solve all of that. They're making lots of improvements. I think it's very helpful when it comes to that. So, because otherwise you're having to figure some stuff out. I think I have some stuff in the notes here too about, like the tokens expiring and everything. People are, because you can't do the custom app route anymore. So if you're doing a custom app, you need access to their dev dash. And recently, which I saw you shared in the newsletter, so thank you, I had posted about finding the Headless Shopify app. So if you need a
Yes.
storefront API token, we were using it to like read and then write to cart metafields as well for some stuff we were doing on the storefront. Found that we needed it for meta objects as well. So we're using a storefront API key. So on the actual storefront, because you can't access cart metafields in Liquid,
Yeah.
which to me is interesting because I
Really?
hear metafields and I think Liquid access. No, like if it's a cart metafield, you can't get it in Liquid on the storefront. So you have to use something like the storefront API, and you need a token for that. And so you can use the Headless Shopify app in order to get a key for that. So, which is very helpful. Otherwise, if you're doing something more robust than that and you need some kind of custom app solution, Dylan actually rolled out a cool thing, AuthCrate.shop. I don't know if you saw that at all.
Mm-mm.
So it'd be interesting to check it out. I'll have to talk to him a little bit more about how he's using it and stuff, but it was just like an easier way to manage that more so for that like kind of custom round. So very interesting stuff. I'm sure Shopify will figure something else out eventually as well. Until then, people in the community are just going to kind of have to figure stuff out to make it work.
When you do your workflow, how do you
Mm-hmm.
access the dev dashboard? Because I feel
Are
like
you
I can
talking
never
about
find it.
from me personally, or?
Yeah, like working on something app related.
Yeah, well, very simply, I have bookmarks, but I'm pretty sure it's linked out from your partner dash too.
Well, that's what you would think. Again, I could be stupid here, but when my partner dashboard, when I go to partners.shop.
So if
Oh.
go to partners, to Shopify.com, look on the top right corner, the little drop down, and then you will
Oh,
see a dev dashboard link out from there.
thank you, Taylor. I had been going to app distribution and then from there having to find it, but I didn't realize it was that easy. See,
Oh yeah,
this is why we
no,
do
yeah,
this podcast.
you don't have to go that deep into it, but no, I have stuff like that. Like that's the purpose of bookmarks, my friend. Like that's get to that sucker fast,
I don't trust my bookmarks because they're like, spread across 3 different technologies right now.
Yeah, I get that. No, I don't. I don't get that.
Well,
And so some
okay.
other things that we're talking about, like metafields and stuff. I thought that was
Yeah.
really interesting. How are we doing on time? We probably do want to like start moving in that direction, huh?
Yeah, you want to save yourself a good 45 minutes for the
At least
changeover.
45 minutes. Well, there was a big change, and I still haven't even told you what it is yet because
I know, the
I want
anticipation is
to get
building.
your recording. We talked about this before, and I was like, do you want to know or do you not want? And I think,
I have worked
listen,
hard to maintain my ignorance.
I'm gonna be really sad if you're not at all impressed with this. So, really fast, some other things just to know that came out in the changelog that has been super helpful. I've been using and found a couple gotchas.
Oh,
So cart metafields now being able to copy over to order metafields. Very, very cool. So if you are using stuff in there, you've some kind of specific customization specifically, and you want to use cart metafields and stuff, metafields and all those things are just easier to access at checkout, right? Rather than like even having to like loop through custom attributes or whatever kind of type thing. And so now that they can copy over to order metafields, then it doesn't like clutter up, it doesn't like clutter up the notes section for like merchants and stuff like that as well when we're adding stuff in there, like, different things. And so I like that. One of the things I did find though, and this is more if you're doing services from an app standpoint, this is going to make so much sense to you. But so a cart metafield, in order to copy over from there to order metafields, like we have to actually like create those first. So they have to be created within the admin. You can't just like create your own cart metafield from the Storefront API. It has to exist, right? And then from there, you can copy over to order metafields as well, which also has to be there for it to exist. So anyways, it's really handy once you kind of get that flow down. I'll link to a post as well. Ben Sells had talked a little bit about, just commented or whatever as well. When you can, you should use something like metafields over attributes, because while it's very handy, helps make things dynamic, it's easy to use. It also referenced like the dangers of it blowing up the page cache. So there's something specific about using cart attributes. So if you want to like add some specific attributes to that cart, like specifically something about that screws with the page cache. So you can link to that as well. And obviously metafields don't do that. Metafields are more performant. They're called specifically or what have you kind of type thing. And so he said they're working on making the caching irrelevant. So you can make those requests dynamic without consequence, but also something that if you're having some performance issues and you're relying heavily on like custom attributes on the storefront, that might be part of your issues. So be cautious, or proceed with caution out there. So interesting stuff. I have not run into that personally, but I thought that was interesting that he thought it was important enough to like call it out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm gonna look it up now if you're not gonna tell me.
You're ready? Do you wanna okay.
Well, you tell me if you got more to do, that's fine.
No, this is it. If we're ready to transition to, it is a changelog thing, but I think it's big enough to talk about. Well, I should make mention, if you haven't like, we didn't talk at all about like the Shopify partner town hall happened this week. And so just as a quick reference, well, I don't, we're probably like, we're further along here from time wise. So like go back, you should have like got an option to watch it. If not, I did a summary as well. We've got like a little repo in SDA as well for like just AMAs that Shopify did. And so I threw in as well, just like a summary for the partner town hall. So if you just want like the quick details, we can include that in show notes as well. And so they talked about a couple of things. They did a good job acknowledging some of the difficulties between like communications and stuff like this that are going on. And then also like right now there's an issue kind of like with app timelines with the submissions process. They're working on all those things. They did talk about the roles-based access control there as well. So there's a couple of good things in there as well. So it'll be interesting as well to see kind of how things progress. But Shopify, I think, has been doing a really good job of trying to stay in touch with partners recently. So bringing back the partner town halls, and they actually did like invite partners to like the offices in Toronto, like so that way they could kind of do just like a little meetup. I think they also had one in New York City as well. Again, too.
Did you go?
Oh, I didn't. Like my kids are on spring break this week, and so we already had like a trip planned or whatever. But that would have been fun to go up to Toronto or whatever or something, or New York. But like Toronto would have been fun. My kids loved Toronto when we went there the one year. But so anyways, if I was doing a good job with that. If you haven't seen it, we'll drop notes for like the summary, but like also you can go back and watch it as well. I think that's always good just to kind of see Shopify like reaching out and talking to partners. Now,
yes,
the big changelog update that I think you need to know about is Shopify.
Did I win something?
Did you win something? No. Trudy won a .dev ticket at the partner town hall. She did. Trudy's so awesome. Anyways, so the big thing that came out in the changelog, they didn't throw it in the dev changelog either. They threw it in the merchant changelog. But this is big for everybody. So Shopify is actually making like B2B features available to non-plus plans. So what that means, more explicitly, I was like, well, that's like very broad. Like, okay, what does that mean?
Shut your mouth, Taylor.
Very broadly. So even from like basic plan and up, okay, they can start selling wholesale using native B2B features. So stuff like I think they're going to be limited, but they're going to have B2B catalogs. So they can have 3 active B2B catalogs. Those can be assigned via markets, company profiles. They can set up different payment terms and volume pricing. So stuff that was previously like Plus only is being released to different tiers of plans. So very, very interesting as far as like what that means for folks. So all the other stuff, obviously, like they're just like making the other things like obviously, it's limited, it's gated to some degree or whatever. So it's almost like they're giving people a taste of like, this is what Plus could be like or whatever. But I feel like it's really helpful. I feel like it's better to have it feature gated like this because, it gives people a taste or at least the ability to start figuring out how they can scale, how they can start getting a piece of the B2B kind of type thing
That first
rather
hit's
than
always
going
free.
full Plus. So what's the first hit's always free? The first 3 hits apparently, because you can have 3 active B2B catalogs. And so, and I think it's really cool. I think it is a little bit. The only downside I see is like it's a little bit confusing, right? Because it used to be such an easy and clear distinction when people are asking, what can we do? As somebody who like works with merchants, and that's a lot of times they're asked, like most of the folks I work with on Plus, but I do have a few folks that are not on Plus. And so that's always the conversation of what can we do here? What, or is this an app? Is this custom dev? Whatever. And so this does like muddy the waters a little bit of like, it used to just be such a clear distinction of like, none of these features are available to you unless you're on Plus. Now it's kind of like, well, we actually can make this work, not on Plus. So I don't know. It'll be really interesting, but I think that was a very, very big update. Whereas in the past, Shopify has very clearly delineated, like if the B2B, you need to be on Plus. And now it's like, all right, well, we understand you're probably not ready for Plus yet. We're still going to give you some B2B powers. And I think the implications for that are huge for like apps and people alike. So I think it's a very big drop.
That's cool. Well, wow, I'm stunned, Taylor. Woo, that was worth the wait.
I oversold it.
No, that's cool. Yeah, you did.
It's good. It's good for people, Karl.
You even used all caps in the show notes outline. Like,
I did.
That must be important. So
I was just trying to make sure that it got talked about at some point. So it's important. So we'll see how things change or whatever. I have yet to test this out with a shop. I actually have a couple of Shopify shops, like STAs on Shopify, my own websites on Shopify or whatever. Our little like table and chair rental businesses on Shopify. So I'm probably like going and try some of these things just to kind of play around with them on like the little baby plans,
How is the little table and chair business doing? Have you thought about moving to the adult market and doing big tables and chairs?
No, little tables and chairs is where it's at.
I don't know. Only so many kids' birthday parties happening.
Nobody ever has the little tables and chairs. No, we have our chairs are like really. It was really important to me, because like okay, this is a small segue, and then we're gonna get back to it. But like, so I'm a bigger guy, right? So I'm about 245 pounds, 6 foot, right? And so whenever you usually go to like weddings or any of these other things, I don't know about that. Like they always have these flimsy, tiny little chairs, and I'm always like saying a silent prayer when I go to sit down of like, dear Lord, don't let this thing break. Like when we got chairs, made sure that we got these ones that are like, they're like rated for like 350 pounds. So I can get a lot fatter and I can still feel safe. So that was, but people comment on it. So it's one of those, like, it is one of those things or whatever. So they're bigger and they take up more space, but also we don't care as much because we're not trying to scale. That's not the main purpose of the business or whatever. So, but yeah, that's that. So little tables and chairs business is doing great.
So the main purpose of that business is simply to complicate your tax return?
100%. Well, I mean, it's not really complicating the tax return because it's still all under like the main biz. Like it really doesn't make enough money. Honestly, the main purpose of it is to teach our kids about running a business and give them opportunities to earn money. So there's a lot of like benefits and stuff too of running like a small family business like that. That's really helpful for kids outside of that. But as far as like a low cost business, for the most part, if you have a truck and trailer, like obviously that's if you don't have that, like you need to figure something else out. I already had a truck and trailer, and so it was pretty easy to do that part. It's like a one-time investment for the tables and chairs until they eventually break, and then we'll have to figure out if it's worth it. Hopefully by then the kids are older and they can decide if they actually want to keep it going or not. But yeah, no, we don't do like the home allowance thing. They earn money that way. When you run a family business or an LLC, you can start up Roth IRAs for your kids. And so when they're paid through the business for doing legitimate business activities like loading and unloading tables and chairs or cleaning out the trailer, like dealing with customers, like that's right. Like angry customers, I'm gonna put my kid on the phone. Like you yell at a 10-year-old kid, like, you're not
Oh,
gonna
they
do
would.
it,
They would.
They would actually. No, but people do really like or appreciate that when it's just a little family business in a little town. Like the purpose of it, makes not a ton of money or whatever, but that's not our main purpose. Is to like teach our kids about business and stuff like that. So I think it's helpful for doing that part at least.
This is a country song just waiting to be written.
Yeah, it is.
Little family business, little tiny town. Got my truck, a trailer. Kids are
We
involved.
had the
Can you
thought
throw
of
in some
like
alcoholism and maybe a bad relationship?
throwing in
And
some
then I think you got
alcohol.
a
Oh my
song.
gosh, we had the thought of like doing more, spinning up a bunch of shops, or for a while I was really on like I want to make a course or whatever, but then everybody was making courses about everything and I was like, oh, man, that just
Right.
feels so cringy to do that. But like that's always a thought.
So
There's not a ton of these rentals on Shopify, so like spinning up a bunch of Shopify rental like shops or whatever for people wouldn't be a bad line of work. So we'll see. We're too busy with other stuff right now. That has just been tabled and we just use it. So but
just got
that's rude.
Sorry.
Man, are you ready for the changelog or what?
Yes. I don't think I can. I'm not quite down for the emotional high of that last one, but I think we got to press forward because people are getting antsy. There's other things they want to do with their day.
They are.
By they, I mean me.
Well, we'll get you out of here. So starting with April 1st here, there's a ton of stuff, by the way, that dropped in the changelog. And so we're only going to cover a part of them. So please do go check the changelog. We're not going to obviously cover all that. Karl doesn't like the time that I take up now. So
No, I do.
We're just going to do
I
it.
like it. I like that it gives you something to pick on you about.
Okay, so discounts, Karl. This is important to you for running an app that does gift with purchase. You can now add tags to discounts. So starting with version 2026.04. So this is really helpful for being able to like label, group, organize discounts. Merchants will be super happy about that. So pay attention to that. Something else that I thought was interesting that dropped here recently: app-owned meta objects can be used without access scopes. So even those that are created using declarative meta object definitions, you can basically, if they're used by their owning app, they won't require any access scopes. So it simplifies the process for developers by eliminating the need to request additional access scopes. So hopefully that'll help. So anything that you're stuffing into meta objects and your app is using specifically, you don't have to use some additional access scopes for that. So kind of interesting. Leveraging the declarative meta objects definitions, it looks like, specifically. So definitely check that out. I think it will be helpful. If you're working with merchant-owned meta object types, you will still need to request specific access scopes like read and write meta object definitions. So heads up there. I think this one was, I don't remember. So adding access field to standard meta object definition template. There's a new access field for this specifically that will display the template's access rules. So the suggestion is it can help you determine if a specific template's configured for access via the Storefront API. So that part I think is really helpful when people are creating these. They want to make sure that they can access them. I've worked with a couple of apps where that's like usually their first line of defense when they can't figure something out. They're like, hey, does it actually have Storefront API access? And then from there, we have to kind of make sure that that's happening. But that is a little bit confusing for merchants. And so I think it's helpful at least that you can actually figure that part out. If whether or not they do have access for that. So now this part was the one that I thought you would find interesting, particularly with your relatively recent concern about stuffing way too much stuff into metafields
Which you only
for an
just
app,
learned about.
which I just learned about, but meta object access and Shopify functions. So meta objects are now available for every function target. I don't know if you're using these or what have you. Obviously, meta objects are just like a collection or group of metafields, right? And so if there's a way for you to restructure your data so that way you're not running into specific limits, you could have different metafield values here for that. And maybe that will help you get around some of the limits. That's been Shopify's recent suggestion. When that whole drop happened before where they were going to drop it super low for, all that stuff. And now they've like come back and put at a reasonable limit, meta objects, and then building out those objects with metafield there specifically is kind of the way that they're suggesting to do that. So it does say that only app-owned meta object types identified by the app reserve prefix are accessible to functions. So something to be aware of there and know for the future.
That is a good call out. Thank you, Taylor.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you.
Yeah,
looking
I
out
got
for
you.
me.
Yeah, just yeah. We mentioned this earlier, but the role-based access control and org management for partners is rolling out. Kind of be aware that that's happening. So if you've used this as well in merchant stores, they're now also making this accessible as well for in the dev dash and stuff too. So that will start rolling out here and hopefully be helpful when you're working with folks in your partner org and need access to the dev dash and all this other stuff. And lastly, though there's definitely more stuff, I'll go back and check out, but this is an action required. The Shopify CLI app release, the -- force flag, is deprecated and will be removed. So if you're running Shopify app deploy and Shopify app release commands, the force flag is going to be removed in the Shopify release in May. So just a heads up. They go into like why they're making the changes. Mainly the concern is like it skips all confirmation prompts and all this other stuff. And so what you should do instead is adjust the scripts to use the allow updates flag instead. And that will ensure that extensions can be added, updated, and not deleted. So check that out.
I'm a
We'll
little
link it up.
confused by that one. There was a certain British actor dressed in robes who assured us that the Force would be with us always. And so the fact that it's being removed makes me question my entire childhood.
There's a concern. There's a concern. So yeah, that's the changelog. That's all I've got. What any that you wanted to throw out there as well, or you're just ready to go on to the picks?
Well, I mean, there's so many that I've been keeping up to date with tabs, so that but no.
I'm just saying Jordan in our last episode contributed to the changelog. I think we've only had like one or two other people do that before. So otherwise, it is the Taylor hour.
Agree that Jordan is exceptional.
Jordan is exceptional.
In many ways.
They literally gave him an award for it.
If I wanted to win an award, I would orient my life around winning an award, but that's not the calling that I'm living up to.
That's not the calling.
Apathy is apathy and mediocrity. Those are my callings. I don't want to contribute to the changelog, but I do want to transition us to the third half of the show. Picks of the week. Pretty excited about this one. Got a little show and tell here. So,
whoa, show and tell.
It's food related.
Of course it is. That looks delicious.
Bake soft protein frosted cookies. So the reason I found these is because they only have 1 gram of net carbs. And so I'm doing the keto thing, happened since October.
Yeah.
And man gets a little tired of chicken and cheese after a while.
Man gets tired of chicken and cheese after a while.
And I saw these online. And the box, I just got it this morning. It was on my doorstep at like 7 a.m. And it looked a little crumpled. So, of course, I had to open it. And
you've already cracked into it, and it's a top pick.
I had to open it and eat one. Yeah. They're really good. That's all I'm going to say. They're really good. I've been super impressed by it. They have chips from Quest and crackers.
I was going to say, these are the chip people, right?
Yeah. So they've been knocking out the park as far as I'm concerned. Now, there's this whole thing with keto marketing where they will claim that it is 1 gram of net carbs. A lot of that is because you discount sugar alcohols from the carb count. It's like you take the actual carbs, subtract any carbs from fiber, and then some people subtract carbs from sugar alcohols as well. However, some sugar alcohols do actually engender a glucose response, which is what you want to avoid.
Yeah.
Or insulin response, not glucose. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I think these are probably fine, but you do kind of have to pay attention just because they claim it's 1 net gram of carbs doesn't mean it won't mess up with your keto pursuits. So, but
yeah. How are you feeling on the keto still? Are you were kind of like underwhelmed initially, and you've kind of settled into like this is just the way of life now because you're seeing the benefits, or you just like you're determined to see it through.
With stuff like this, I mean, do I need to go back? No, I think this is probably a little personal that anyone wants to know. So one of my initial goals was some weight loss, just because I have a very sedentary lifestyle and I was getting older and the weight was creeping up. And so at first that was doing pretty good. And then sometime in February, it just kind of plateaued. So like the trend that I have been seeing, which is a very nice gradual but consistent trend, just stopped. And so I don't know what that's about. Maybe it's about stuff like this. But I didn't eat those then. I don't know. So in that sense, like, okay, it's a little disappointing because I'm still doing the work of sticking to the diet, but not necessarily
Yeah.
seeing the weight loss benefits per se.
Mhm.
But I also now definitely afraid of stopping because I know how many carbs I would eat, and that can't be good. So
Right.
I'm just planning on sticking around here, and if it happens, it happens. And if not, at least I will not shoot upwards 20 pounds in a month, which is likely what my life would be if I went back to my cracker ways.
The quicker ways. Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of my concern. We did at the time it was like paleo, which is keto in nature or whatever, or puts you into that ketosis because it is just that or whatever. But I just didn't like the idea that I could be taken out with a crouton, because that's the tough part when you eat
Well,
that way is if you introduce any other thing that is like carb heavy or there is any kind of like gluten or whatever with stuff, like you are in for a very troublesome afternoon. Like,
see, I've never experienced that, and I used to be afraid
yeah.
too, but I've since learned it's not so much an on-off switch. It's more
Mm,
of a like buffer kind of thing. So if you eat over, you get a few too many carbs, your body will work through it, and then you'll be back. It just alters the progress, I guess. Someone who knows more
yeah.
about this stuff is listening to this and cringing on both our behalves, but you can write in. Leave a comment. We love comments on YouTube.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
I also have something snack related, but not
Oh,
a
yeah. What's
snack.
yours?
Granola, but not the snack. Did you
Womp
see
womp.
that worked? See how
Yeah,
that's why
kinda.
you do that's why you transitions in the segues. So Granola AI is this like voice transcription kind of type thing. Like, and very, very recently, like this week, just had a lot of stuff going on. And I got to the end of the workday and I was like, I need to like take some notes about everything that happened today. But I am just exhausted. I need to reserve a little bit of energy for my kids after work. And like, I literally couldn't stop to take 5 to 10 minutes to write some stuff down. So what did I do? I
What
actually
did you
wrote
do,
some
Taylor?
stuff down. I took to AI first, and then I went to SDA community and was like, hey, this is what I want. I need something for like, I keep missing all these notes in meetings because you have meetings across, I use Google Meet mainly for meetings. And so Gemini for that, like, does a really good job, like taking notes and giving this other stuff or whatever. But like, unfortunately, when you're in services, right, I don't always own the meeting. Sometimes it's in Zoom, sometimes it's in Slack, sometimes it's in Microsoft Teams. People use that still. And so uh, I can't just spin up something for notes for that. And I hate those little AI note taker app things where you would have to invite something else to the call. I think it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
And so,
I hate that too.
yeah, but so anyways, there were several people who suggested Granola, and it does a good job of just kind of like listening, and then it does a really good job consolidating the information. I tested it out a little bit yesterday and was very impressed with it. So far, I'm really happy with how it works. So we'll see. People have talked about it quite a bit, and I've never actually tried it. I've stayed away from a lot of like the voice stuff in general, but I think for something like this, it works really, really well. I was very impressed with it, just the little bit that I've used it.
Well, good. I'm glad. I feel like I checked that out like a year ago. I
Yeah,
was in San Francisco, as one does.
as one
And
does.
some friends, we were messing around. Silicon Valley, you probably heard of it. I don't know. I didn't see the draw, but I'm glad you do. I do definitely feel that need though of the end of day like debrief because tomorrow
Yeah.
your future self will have no idea what you just did, and it
No,
gets worse
yeah.
as you get older. So
Well,
just so you know,
that's
you're
pretty
still in your
rough
30s.
because I'm already pretty bad about after I sleep, I wake up and it's just it's a new day. It's a clean slate. Yeah, having something that I can drop in, it connects pretty easily to like Claude. And so using that as well, if you have to like divvy it up with project management tools and stuff, seems to be very, very well done so far. Pretty impressed with
Now,
it.
how does it
So
differ from Whisper? Because you also use Whisper, don't you?
yeah, Whisper. So I think Whisper also has maybe something similar where you can do like voice memos and such. And maybe so like for the most part, what I use Whisper for is if there are videos like for instance, like this recent like town hall just did like a quick summary. I just snagged like the transcript or what have you, threw it into Whisper to like or the video usually is what I'll do. I couldn't grab the video file for this, so like that wasn't a good example. Our show's notes specifically. So Riverside does do a pretty good job, but I like to wait until after, because we've got an intro and an outro and all this stuff. So I drop all of that into Whisper after it's actually exported and edited, and then it gives me options for like captions with timelines, or if you want to export that, there's a bunch of like really good options for that. So it's more, it's like there's a finished video. I've done it for Twitter AMAs and stuff as well that Shopify has done. Dropped it in there so we could just have a quick summary. So it's great for
So-
that stuff. But if you're listening live or you want to do quick voice notes or whatever, I think something like Granola is better for that.
So does Granola just listen to your system mixer and record everything?
So it does when you tell it to. So the nice thing is too, so far, like it gave me a prompt for like, you're recording today. It's because on your calendar. Do you want to start a note or whatever? And it's like, well, yeah, thanks. So I think that part of it just has to be like pretty nice and automatic for me to like be able to. I don't want to have to every single time like, let me add this person to the meeting or do that or whatever. So the prompt is really nice how it ties in for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good for you. I'm glad you're getting use out of it.
Yeah, so far it's only
Are you
like
recording
day
me right
2 or
now?
whatever, but it's great. I am.
It's okay. Well, anything else you want to toss out there before?
I don't think so. I think we're good. I think I covered everything that I had notes on, so I think we're good.
We're not going out with a bang today. We're going out with a whisper. Pretty good, huh?
That's why
Anyway.
you do that.
Hey guys, guess what? You have done it again. You've wasted another perfectly good hour. You could have spent blowing through your cloud usage limits listening to the Liquid Weekly podcast. Taylor, it's always good to catch up with you. Thanks for enlightening me on all the happenings that I miss out on this week. And for the rest of you, happy hacking. We'll see you next time.